Good afternoon again, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Spilling Tea. I'm your host, Tiffany Daniels. We'll get to the JRC here in a moment, but first, the disclaimers and the trigger warnings. If you're unfamiliar with the Stop the Shocks campaign or the campaign against the troubled teen industry, pertinent links are going to be in the description box. We do have Autistic Hoya's massive archive on the subject linked in there as always. We have Neuroclastic's article. You remember that. The JRC threatened a defamation lawsuit in regards to that article if Neuroclastic didn't remove it from the website. They, of course, didn't, and it is an article where they interviewed over 800 ABA professionals in regards to the JRC's so-called behavior modification program. It gives you a pretty good bird's eye view into what the overall field actually feels about what the JRC gets up to at their little school in Canton. So, something you guys will probably really want to read. And if you've already read it, of course, please share it on all your social media. Also, we do have Neuroclastic's GoFundMe page also in the description box, folks, because in case the JRC sees through their threat, because unlike them, we don't have access to unlimited funding, any kind of help, whether it's donating or sharing, I know that they would definitely appreciate it. Trigger warnings when we discuss places like the Judge Rotenberg Educational Center or Agape Boarding School for Boys. You're going to hear vivid descriptions of and catch clips of surveillance footage of people's mental health issues and disabled people being tortured and abused. If you do got young children present, please make sure to utilize the headphones. This channel is marked not for kids for a reason. We use profanity and speak on dark subjects. If your child's 16 and younger and they are watching this, parental supervision is advised. To the next paragraph. Even if one accepts the speculative risks the FDA outlines in the ban as probabilities, though the available data and information still indicates that those probabilities are quite low, the only rational conclusion is that any set of reasonable patients would be willing to accept those risks in the light of extraordinary and demonstrable benefits the device provides to people who routinely put themselves and others in grave dangers of serious physical harm. JRC, allow me to say this again. And listen to me this time. I would rather go through a horrific death like was the general punishment in medieval Europe for treason, where you are hung, gutted, your intestines burnt in front of you, then you are quartered with 4 pieces of your corpse being sent to different areas of the country. Then to be forced to go on that device. Because as horrific as all that torture was, I would at least know that it would eventually come to an end. I would rather go for that than to ever be forced on that horrific device, where the torture will continue and continue and continue and continue, unabated, uninterrupted, with nobody giving a single shit to hear about the torture because it's in the behavioral contract, so no talking out. If you were a reasonable patient, pretty reasonable patient, I am willing to listen to others, even others I despise with the entirety of my soul. I will still hear them out. Okay? But in regards to sentences like this, again, you are either a special level of Kool-Aid drinking that shouldn't even be allowed legally within 50 yards of a snail, let alone ever set foot anywhere inside a mental health clinic. I'm just saying. In actuality, no reasonable patient would actually ever choose to go on that device willingly. You want to know why? We are exceptionally reasonable, logical human beings. You go to the DSM-5, it will show you the exact thing. We are incredibly rigid to the point that all the letters of the rules will be obeyed to their very last details, even the details neurotypicals never even see. Okay? And I would never wear that device. Ever. Under any circumstances. But what about those in danger? Or what about the danger you do to yourself? Again, this is a nonsense argument. Because nothing is really changing the dynamics of the situation. If the choice is either I'm causing myself self-injurious harm, or you are causing me physical harm, the abuse is still there. Nothing changes in that scenario. The only thing that changes is replacing one abuser with another. It doesn't make it better to have a direct care staff abuse me instead of me abusing me. What is not to get there? What is there not to understand or comprehend? Nothing changes. It's you abusing me instead of me abusing me. Nothing gets fixed. Again, y'all need some serious drug testing. Everybody that works there. Full mandatory drug testing. If you all genuinely believe this, yeah, drug testing. Because as a reasonable human being, I am not going to trade me abusing myself with somebody else abusing me instead. Because the abuse remains. Just because the injuries are different, they're still just as lethal and just as much abuse. What would even be the point? And you're trying to convince me that this makes other people happy? For the love of God, before you guys type this crap out or even copy and paste it, please put the crack pipe down first. You're ridiculous and you're embarrassing yourselves. The whole idea should be to find the triggers that are causing those more disturbing, out of control behaviors. Because if you want to stop something for good, you got to deal with the root of the problem. If all you do is continue to keep punishing people for symptoms, you're never getting anywhere. You're just switching one abuser for another, and nothing in all actuality changes. Which is why, when they are taken off the device, all those behaviors come back, because the root was not dealt with. This is basic logic 101 here. Okay? the reasonable human being. Like myself, I am my own full legal guardian. I have been since I was 18 years old. Nobody has at any point in time throughout the entirety of the service system ever indicated that it should be otherwise. I'm considered reasonable, knowledgeable, and in fact good enough material that service system that assisted me with my services then hired me to work for them. Pretty sure that means they think I'm a pretty reasonable person. As a reasonable person that has actually worked inside this field, and even later on managed to get myself known for specialties such as transition age care, going from high school into secondary school or into the workforce. What that looks like, services, circle of support, you name it. I was there. I worked with Vote Rehab, I've worked with ARC, I've worked with NOVA and Easter Seals and People First ASAN. I wear a ridiculous amount of hats, paid or not paid, okay? I would choose the medieval punishment for treason over being forced to wear that device. Because as a reasonable human being, if I can look at this and see quite clearly that the situation is not changing, that instead of me abusing me, it will be a direct care staff that's abusing me, but the abuse remains nonetheless, and the issues that are causing the behavior throughout their programs are not in any way, shape, or form being dealt with or dug into, I'm going to say, yeah, no. This is nonsense. This is pseudoscience on crack. And then once I found out about their anti-pharma batshit insanity, oh, hell no. Hell no. I wouldn't have just said no. My mom would have said no. And Dad would promptly probably contact the press, like KY3. Because, remember, she's worked in healthcare and has had some interesting situations over 40 years career. And I know what she would say to this mess. And it wouldn't be pretty. As a matter of fact, we probably both end up going to jail. You see, I get this from somewhere, folks. I come by it honestly. And she's very much an activist in regards to things that have to do with healthcare, in particular with elderly folks. When it comes to issues with bones and all of that. She has a massive heart. But boy, does she scare people. Makes me so proud. You guys have no idea. My point is, any reasonable person would have told them where to go and drawn them a map how to get there. Okay? I am an analytical, logical human being. To the point that when I am overwhelmed with emotions because something has gone down, I will sit myself somewhere until I am able to calm down and think rationally again before making any kind of decisions. Because I know if I try to make a decision then, It's not going to work well. This wouldn't be an emotional decision. This would be a logical decision of me sitting there trying to figure out how replacing me abusing myself with somebody else abusing me, and with, instead of nail gouges and scabs up on the top of my head from hairbrushes and marks on arms and in particular legs, torso area from, body slamming, to having a direct care staff give me second and third degree burns, starve me, publicly humiliate me while starving me, knowing I won't eat their replacement, which of course they would mark as disobedience for more punishment. Yeah, I would not say that that would be the route to go under any circumstances, because it makes no sense. I know as a logical human being that fear, although it works as a temporary deterrent, is not something that's going to be able to help long term. If you want long term, real progress, you gotta do it the hard way. Means you gotta dig into those triggers. And sometimes you do gotta open yourself up to some of the dark crap that you hide from yourself in regards to dealing with. Because some of that might be triggering some of those more out of control behaviors. And that, folks, is the program I ultimately ended up going with out of high school. Then, once I transitioned out of high school, starting mid-year, senior year 2004, I was integrated into one of the very first individuals out of my state to go with the person-centered planning model as a treatment program, where I had full control. Okay? So yes, even back then, as a fully logical, analytical teenager, I really would have told them where to go, drew them a map, and showed them the door. Okay? Your methods don't make sense, JRC. You ripping away anti-seizure medications from people who have seizure disorders and saying that we're getting them off of psychotropic medicine as though that is some kind of great thing of success scares the hell out of me, and you should have been federally rated just over that, just over the fact that you forced these kids who have seizures, who have anti-seizure medication, off of their seizure medication and call it successful. How the hell the FBI has not rated you is beyond anything I can comprehend or understand. If that shit happened out here, it would have been a field day. We're going to go ahead and close out on that one and close out for today, folks. You don't get very many views on this channel, and the few we do tend to get removed from time to time, so please don't forget to hit the like button, hit subscribe, don't forget to hit the comments. I appreciate your time, and as always, folks, we here at Spilling Tea hope you have a good one. I'll see you all next week. Bye-bye.